It was a frustrating game for me. And I think for many of you. It was a frustrating game because for most of the contest, it felt like one great play could change it. One goal. And the whole game's different. They might have won 4-1 if they just put a well-timed one goal out there. But instead, it felt like it alternated between creating chances and not being able to convert those chances. And at times, again, special teams, flubbing away possessions ahead of anybody making any kind of aggressive move to try to score. Now, I will, long season, hopefully just an off night. But this is starting to be something. I'm not one to chalk it up to just luck all the time. Right? There has to be a break-even point. And I think this is where myself and probably people that have covered hockey longer, like the diehards longer than me, I might disagree with them. The Canes outshot Nashville last night. What was it, 35-16? At one point in time, they had like 3 times as many shots, but they were losing, like whatever it ended up being. If that happens every once in a while, or if you are shooting a high percentage on the season and there's a one-off where you got a bunch of good looks and you didn't finish them, all right. Right, I can understand the nature of a hockey loss where you're like, we played better than them, but for whatever reason we didn't get the goals. I'm fine with that, but there has to be a point where if it happens often enough with the same guys, it's like finishers finish, I guess is the way to look at it. If you keep creating good looks, you keep creating shot opportunities, and they very rarely become goals. I'm not ready to just sit here and go, well, you outshot them again. Like it's you must be playing well. It's there has to be a break-even line. There has to be where all right, those shots aren't working, or whoever's getting the high leverage chances aren't the ones finishing. And there was a bit of that last night. I'm not there with the team as a whole, but like the team needs guys that have the knack for finding the back of the net. And if the players in the system are all creating high-leverage chances, you need to figure out who needs to be on the receiving end of those high-leverage chances that will turn chances into goals. A game like last night, yeah, you more than doubled them up in shots on goal. Great. Need that knack for finishing. Taylor Hall has had that recently. I mean, you heard the highlight coming out of break. I said this on Twitter last night, and it's 100% true for me. Every once in a while, Hall makes a play that literally, like, I want to say it out loud. Go like, all right, that guy was an MVP, wasn't he? There's that makes sense. That was one of those goals where he just stayed calm, right, crossed face, made it look easy. The whole play was just the chef's kiss, and it was good. And then they went right back to good look wide, good look, that one right into the goalie's chest, good look. And I'm going like, these good looks need to be goals at some point in time. It was a very frustrating game for that reason. And yes, like I'm acknowledging this very much, as much in the eyes of the beholder as because somebody on Twitter, I tweeted that out. Somebody on Twitter said, or you could have just stopped 2 more goals. And I was like, that is very true, right?
Yeah, it comes both ways.
But the reason why I'm so much more frustrated with the attack is because you only get one shot to stop a goal. You get like a billion chances to score a goal. So the buildup made it more frustrating for me. But yes, I mean, if you want to allow 0 goals, and Pyotr Kochetkov was not his best, hasn't been his best in a couple of games now. Mm-hmm. So like if I'm Rod Brind'amour, I'm not only blaming the forwards, right? I'm the whole team needs to play better than last night. But I'm starting to get to the point where I'm going, are they just having bad puck luck? Or are the ones that are getting the opportunities to score goals a little off? That's where I'm at. Because they have that long stretch, right? You look at the win-losses recently. They had an 8-game winning streak. They never allowed more than 2 goals in that winning streak. Your goal scorers don't have to be the most efficient guys in the world if you're giving up 0 or 1 goal most games, right? You just find a couple breaks here and you're good. I'm going to ask a question here, and I know it's out there. You know what's the saying? Every joke starts with a grain of truth or something like that. I don't know the exact. A kernel of truth might be the word.
A little truth in comedy.
So I've had this ongoing conversation with many of you on X.com on Twitter, and Dennis, we've done a bit of it on air about how the lines will shake up if and or when Carrier and Svetch come back.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, thank you for everybody participating. I have a good time going back and forth. Overwhelming majority are like, Roslovic, Robinson, Jankowski, or some are saying Carrier, right? Are the ones that are Stankoven even less often being mentioned as the one that gets bounced and becomes the healthy scratch when everybody's healthy. I've also received a handful of jokes. The jokes are something along the lines of, well, I would start with the ones that aren't scoring. How about Aho? And I'm like, all right, badoom, right? Good zing, got your joke in there. And I actually told one of them, like, hey, you're the first to make that joke, congrats. And then there was like 4 more pretty quickly. And I was like, all right. So there's a bit, right? I acknowledge it's a joke, right? Badoom, said it, did the zing, all right, haha, way to go, Rodney Dangerfield over there. But every joke has a kernel of truth. There's starting to be a little bit of frustration with Aho. And so I started doing a deep dive. Obviously, like right now, this is very recency bias. He's on his tied for the longest point drought of the season, hasn't registered a point in 3 games. And, he's your dude, so you want to see more than that. He's also at like 0.38 goals per game. Last 3 years, he hasn't been lower than 0.46. So it's a little bit of a dip. Still obviously setting guys up, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm not singling out Aho for I don't think he's,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear. I don't think he's a big problem. I'm a big Aho fan. I think he's a superstar. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I think right now what he is a example of how, to put it simply, need to produce more goals. to put it simply, if you're getting a bunch of high chances, high leverage chances, whatever you want to call them, good looks, I do think there's very few games where the defense gives up a bunch of goals, the blue line and the goalies give up a bunch of goals, and the offense bails them out. But there's a decent amount of games where the offense scores a few and the defense bails them out. So I'm just looking for that to balance out here, and to go back to the conversation, I think that's why Roslovic will be in the lineup when everybody's healthy, because he's at different times this year. I know it hasn't been as loud as it was at the beginning of the year. He's shown some propensity for scoring goals.
I mean, I'm not gonna buy too much into the Sebastian Aho. Yes, he has not scored a goal in 3 straight games, but if you look at the 10 previous games before that, he had 6 goals. He has goals in 6 of 10 games leading up before this recent 3 games. So are you just going truly recency bias? Because that sounds like a lot of people are doing.
Or season long.
But
you want to go, the smallest sample size is 0 points in the last 3 games. The biggest sample size is on the season. He's down on specifically goals. He's down a decent amount on total points per game since last year. But if you go back the year before, it's pretty, like, he's right on his career average for points per game. So it's again, I'm not blaming Aho. I think he's a really, really good player, and I think a lot of those high leverage chances he's kind of created, and then whether the receiving end finishes them or not is a different beast. I'm looking at him as the like just a microcosm of the team, which is, I know you can score more, so I would just like to see it. It would make me a little bit more comforting, because the other thing is, right, he scored, what'd you say, 6 out of the previous 10? Is that what you just said? Scored a goal in 6 of the previous 10, and they won, 8 or 9 of those?
Yeah, they won 8.
And then the last 3 he hasn't produced a point. They've lost 2 of the 3, and including one to Nashville, which isn't the best team in the world. So maybe it's as he goes, the team goes, in which case you're putting a ton of pressure on one guy. Like, then other guys have to start picking up goal scoring for when Aho does have a 3 or 4 game drought, which is not outlandish in hockey.
I mean, if you want to point the finger at other guys as well, like, okay, as creative and as good as Jackson Blake has been lately, the guy's gone, 20 plus games without a goal now? Jack Roslovic, this entire 2025 calendar year in 33 games, has 4 goals.
I think Jackson Blake is a great example. I'm glad you brought him up, of what I was talking about with, like, there has to be a point where you stop saying, because I've said it on the air a bunch of times, like, man, the guy he's buzzing. At some point, the levee's going to break. And oh, he's getting good looks. And oh, this one was taken away by replay. And this one rang the post. And this one was a great look. And he's getting to the point now where I'm going, you know what? I can only say it's only a matter of time till the dam breaks. So long before I'm going like, all right, maybe those high leverage chances in your hands aren't being executed highly enough. I don't know if I'm there with Jackson Blake, but I do think if there is a line shuffle up when guys get healthy, at one point in time I was like, Jarvis, Aho, Blake. Love the way they're buzzing. That group sticks together. Svetch comes back and he's all the way healthy, and it's Jarvis, Aho, Svetch, and Blake goes and maybe mixes it up with KK and Hall or even further down. I think I'm more okay with it now because we're reaching that break-even point.
I mean, yeah, it's just, again, people are going to look at the recent. I know the last 3 games, Aho hasn't done anything. Look at the 14 games before that. He had 9 goals and 5 assists, 14 points. I'm like who actually has been consistently producing? He has.
Okay, that's an even better example than when he does have 3 games, which you have to allow him, right?
Yeah.
It happens in hockey. When Aho has 3 games where he's not producing at an elite level, who's there to pick it up? Like who's there to pick it up? It's again, that's why I'm not blaming Aho, but there is something there that's worth noting, I guess is what I'm getting at. Because I know it's hockey, and I know on any given night, you should beat Nashville. Like it's you should beat Nashville. Oh, we didn't have good puck luck. Yeah. They're the 3rd worst team in the Western Conference. You're vying for big and lofty goals. If you don't, we're gonna do an autopsy, and we're gonna try to figure out why.
I mean, it's my thing is like, folks, it's not football. It's 82 of these things.
True, very true.
Settle down.
Well, and this is actually one of the things I struggle with hockey, and I know we're up against this. We got to get moving. I struggle with what's the like in football if a month, right? 4 games, 3 or 4 games. If something's going, you're like, boom, that's something we're seriously like. 1 game you're not worried about. 2 months, it's too late to worry about. 1 month is boom, that's it. I struggle with that in hockey sometimes because they're always talking last 10, right? What's your record in your last 10? 10 games to me, it's almost like if there's something glaring that's gone on for 10 games and you haven't tried to address it already, it's too late. But 3 is too short. Is it 5? Is it 7? Like it's tough for me to get there. So after 3, you bring it up. Right now we know what we're tracking. Now there's narrative. Now there's storyline. 2 days from now, 3 days from now, 4 days, games, not days. We can revisit it and go, all right, was that real? Or were we Chicken Little running around saying the sky is falling?